So first of all, I would like to congratulate Guru Nanak Institutions of Technical Campus for organizing this wonderful program, that is classical optimization techniques in manufacturing systems. 1 week FDP, which I was looking at the speakers in this whole program, and they have been very wisely chosen, and definitely there would be a lot to learn for the participants. We are from mechanical engineering, and today we are on a platform where we are discussing all about the optimization techniques, classical optimization techniques, and other ways to optimize various problems. So friends, being in mechanical engineering, we are from the core branch, and we believe in more experimental work, more machines, more processes, and the least we bother to work on coding and developing algorithms, or we think that these things are very difficult for us to understand or to implement. So we think that these are the fields to be chosen by the computer engineers or electronics engineers or the people from IT branch. So let me tell you, friends, this is not the case now, because in most of our problems we'll be needing such tools and such algorithms to optimize our problems. So with this note, I would like to thank the coordinator of the program, Dr. M. Anjia, for giving me this opportunity to interact with you. And I'm thankful to his team, including Mr. K. Srinivas and B. Kamireddy, who had been instrumental in materializing this talk in this program. So, not taking you much of time, we are already at 9:41. So, let me start with the today's session that is planned on introduction to optimization techniques and nature-inspired algorithms. Okay, so today we shall talk on the basic introduction to optimization techniques, and we'll try to discuss one method of nature-inspired optimization algorithm, that is genetic algorithm. So let us start with the purpose of the talk, as we'll introduce optimization and pros and cons of optimization techniques, nature-inspired optimization algorithms, and when, where, how the GA can be implemented, and then we'll go through a quick example in case the time permits for the illustration of genetic algorithm, which we go through this session. So these are my interests, my field of interest in which I'm doing research, and I have presented talks on these topics. So let's start with the present environment in the 21st century. So it involves aggressive competition and dynamic business environment. We all know that today the time has gone. Everyone has to be very, very alert, because companies very fast phase out, and they turn from profit to loss very quick in case you do not optimally use your resources. So this is highly volatile and customer driven markets. And customer driven market, when we say, then it means that definitely we need to work on the cost and quality both. We have to reduce the cost, we have to improve the quality, and that only be done by optimal resources, optimal use of resources, and optimizing the whole processes. So today we see that we are facing shorter life cycles of the products, because each day we see new products and older products are getting phased out very quickly. So rapid innovations in management philosophies and business ideas. Each day you see new product and process technology. So according to that, you need to upgrade your business very fast. Shorter lead times and scarce resources are the other traits for the present scenario of manufacturing, you can say. Now, optimization, as the name suggests, everyone is aware of, because we unknowingly or use this word optimization. I want to use optimally do it, and everyone is clear. So the word optimization as such can be seen in each and every branch. So in mathematics, computer science, economics, management science, the optimization may be called as the selection of best alternatives. Means there could be many alternatives, and you have to choose one alternative that is the best one. So whenever you want to choose the best alternative, you are doing optimization. The next one is optimize, means to build a system structure as perfect, as effective as possible. Means we are developing a system which is near to perfect and very effective uh, to the extent to which it is possible. So may be defined as the process of finding the conditions that give the minimum or maximum value of function. Simply in mathematics, you can say that we have some function in hand and we are trying to minimize or trying to maximize the function. You people might have done some research and you are using RSM, Taguchi, and ultimately you get some regression equation. Through that regression equation, you try to maximize some response or minimize some response based on the process parameters, and those process parameters are basically variables. So we want to fine tune the variables to get a desired output. So optimization is the art of allocating scarce resources. When we say scarce resources, you should understand that in this whole world, nothing is free and nothing is unlimited. Whenever we are doing production, whenever we are doing any task in the industry, in day-to-day life also, we have limited resources, and those resources definitely should be used according to the best possible way so that we can bring out maximum out of those scarce resources. So practical applications, basically you can see various examples here, determining which ingredient and what quantities to be added for best results, and allocating available funds among competing agencies, deciding which route to take to go to new location. In civil engineering, you can say minimization of the cost of the project or time of the project. In mechanical engineering, maximization of the efficiency, we all are aware. And in the statistics, you can say all the problems related to regression, classification, or maximum likelihood, they lie in the domain of optimization, because we do optimize to find the best alternatives out of these. Now, how to formulate an optimization problem? There is a question. You see some function here, minimize or maximize. So such functions are definitely relate to the optimization problems. But how do we develop these functions? How do we develop constraints, and how we translate? We have something in our mind, and that has to be translated into some mathematical model so that we are able to work it out through the numerical methods. Here you can see a schematic view of modeling and optimization process. We have some real problem in hand. We are working on some problem. So, okay, we know the problem. So once we know the problem, that problem has to be translated into the mathematical problem. But the whole problem translating into the mathematical model is very a complex phenomena. Sometimes the real situation is so much complex that it is very difficult to make the realistic mathematical model. So what we do is we definitely go for some assumptions. Assumption means we don't take everything as a parameter. We assume that okay, these things are being assumed initially, and as we keep making this mathematical model again and again, we try to relax those assumptions. So some abstraction, some data simplification has to take place for converting the real world problem into the mathematical model. A simple example, let us take, say there is a mall or there is a store in which we are visiting for buying some products. So how many tellers are needed? So based on your experience, you might have some data, how many people are coming in which time slot, what is their arrival time, departure time, how much time do they spend in various shops, various sections, how much they buy, how much time is being spent in the basically by the teller in counting those things and making the bills. So everything, there are so many parameters to optimize optimal number of tellers in case you need. So that is also a very cumbersome thing. There you need some assumptions. So after assumptions, we try to make a model. So that's how the mathematical model is being made. Once we have a mathematical model, then we bring a solution to the model, and that solution is brought to you by the optimization algorithm. Now I'm talking about optimization. It is not, I'm not talking about which method, how that has to be implemented. That will depend on the problem in hand. And once you have a solution to the problem, that problem has to be ultimately implemented back to the real world problem and see, okay, that solution works or not. Interpreted, you interpreted that solution to the real world problem, and ultimately after that you see that whether that has given us a real or the relevant solution. In case it has given us a relevant solution, it is making sense, then it is fine. If not, then again loop back here only and try to change some assumptions, abstraction and data simplification, so that we are able to change the mathematical model or the optimization method being used. There is some problem in this situation. So this is an iterative process. Maybe in the first instance you may not get the real outcome, so you keep on iterating till you get the good model or good solution to the model. So classical optimization, first I'll discuss what are the classical optimization techniques. The classical methods of optimization are useful in finding the optimum solution to continuous of continuous and differentiable functions. Basically here there is a constraint that you should have a continuous function, it should be differentiable and all that. And the classical optimization techniques can handle following three types: single variable function, multivariable with no constraints, and multivariable with equality and inequality, both type of constraints. So if you have read the operation research, LPP, MILP, all those non-linear programming, dynamic programming, such kind of all the algorithms come under the category of classical optimization. Beauty of the classical optimization algorithm is they bring you the solution in case the solution is feasible, and they give you the best alternative all the time. They optimize and they give you the best solution. But in case the problem is very complex and the problem is very lengthy, so there may be the whole lifetime short to get the solution back. Sometime it could be years and years long time of computation. Despite having your very fast computers, you won't be able to get the solution to the problems. Those type of problems are known as NP hard, NP complete. Those are combinatorial problems, and in combination it increases like anything. As the size of the problem increases, the time consumed increases like anything. So let's compare the classical optimization techniques with the nature-inspired optimization techniques. So as I was telling you that it converges to the nearest local extreme value. So local extreme value and global extreme value, when we say there is some function and we want to go to the local minima. So this is also a minima, local minima, this is local minima, this is also a local minima, and here, but it is a global minima. So whenever there is a multi-model problem and there is multiple minima or maxima, your such problems, classical optimization techniques may trap into the local extreme value. But ultimately the nature-inspired optimization algorithms converge to the global extreme value. That is, they are found to be very suitable to get the global extreme value if you implement the right algorithm with right parameters. Rely on strong mathematical base, but it does not rely on strong mathematical base. They are stochastic or probabilistic. Here you may not repeat the same solution each and every time to the same problem. If you run again and again, it might be that you get a different solution each time, because they are not the exact solution, but they are the near best solution. So each time you may get the different solution, but here you will get each time the same solution, but they are for the small problems and they are for the potentially large or huge space where you want to implement. So they are difficult to be coupled with CFD. CFD, everyone has computational fluid dynamics, everyone is aware of, and some people might be working in this, and it is very difficult to implement these algorithms with CFD. And you can easily integrate these modern optimization techniques or nature-inspired optimization techniques easily to the CFD. Not fit for parallel computing. When I say parallel computing, this might seem a new word to some people who are attending the course. Parallel computing means we have different cores in the computer. We may do parallelly many tasks. Task scheduling is being done. Say we are doing this is task 1, task 2, task 3. So all the tasks are being done in parallel so that the time consumed is minimized. But in this case, there is no possibility of this task scheduling and parallel computing. But the nature-inspired algorithms support this parallel computing. We'll discuss this later. This requires lower computation cost, but it requires higher computation cost that the nature inspired, because here we will be testing many solutions and we will be moving probabilistically or stochastically. So these are the classification of optimization techniques. Here you can see these are the optimization techniques and these are the classical optimization. It could be trial and error or it could be analytical techniques, which further can be categorized as numerical or differential. In numerical, it could be linear programming or non-linear programming, and the nature-inspired problems may fall into the two categories: evolutionary algorithm and swarm-based algorithms. In evolutionary algorithm, you can say genetic algorithm, harmony search, differential evolution, immune algorithm, and in the swarm base, you can see PSO, particle swarm optimization. All everyone is might have heard these words: ant colony optimization, bacterial foraging, and then is the bee algorithm and gray wolf. I have listed very few. So there are many algorithms coming each day. In 2020 also almost 5 new algorithms have been seen. So the thing is, once you know the basic principle of these type of algorithms, that is the nature inspired algorithm, you have to see some natural phenomena and you can make your own algorithm also that could be popular if it works well with the certain type of problems. Now comes the evolutionary algorithms. That's basically nature-inspired optimization algorithms based, which are based on evolution. So evolutionary algorithms are population-based meta-heuristics inspired on Darwin's theory of survival of fittest optimization algorithm. So Darwin gave us a theory that is the survival of fittest. It says if you want to survive, you'll have to be the fittest. So only those people will survive, those who are fittest. So the thing is, we keep on changing our population day by day, through mutation and crossovers. We are getting changed each day. So our human traits have been changed a lot. Earlier, you might have seen that the people were very tall and very healthy and with good muscles. And as we left all these work, we are working with our brain only, and we have left this physical task. So the thing is, we are not that physically strong in the generations to come. So only thing is the survival. So for survival, we need to use brain. In the times to come, you might observe that our brains are getting of the bigger size. As in the movie, you have seen Jadoo. Everyone might be remembering that with big brain. So each individual is a candidate solution to the given problem. In this case, every individual in the population, it gives us a candidate solution. Each individual is evaluated by a fitness function which measures the quality of its candidate solution. So later, as we go along genetic algorithm heuristic, you'll be able to D. Banerjee has said, please sir, show the algorithm slide, just the previous one. This is the classification which you are asking. Banerjee, you may unmute and unmute again in case anybody wants to interact.
This one, sir.
Do you have any query in this?
No, sir, actually.
Okay, that's fine. May I go ahead now?
I wanted to see what are the optimization.
Banerjee, I am not able to hear you. Your voice is not audible.
Sir, actually, I am working on the optimization section.
Okay.
In FDM, and that's why I wanted to see what are the optimization techniques are there.
So you can see a search on simply Wikimedia meta heuristics or nature inspired algorithms. You'll see a list of 200 approximately optimization algorithms. 200 I am saying. So there are many optimization algorithm coming each day. The thing is which optimization algorithm you want to do. Once you learn one algorithm by heart and you are clear about everything, how it works. Genetic algorithm is the basic algorithm which started with these type of algorithms. Genetic algorithm is a very pioneering optimization algorithm based on this stochastic optimization techniques, population based. So if you are clear in genetic algorithm, all the basic terms, exploration, exploitation, and how the fitness works, what are various parameters, you'll be able to implement any of these algorithms. So in case you have any further query, you may ask. You can unmute, ask your query, and please mute again as your query is resolved. So I'm moving ahead with the genetic algorithm that is based on the Darwin's theory, survival of fittest. So genetic algorithms are good at taking large, potentially huge search spaces and having them and navigating them, looking for optimal solutions you might not otherwise find in the lifetime. When we say there are some key terms in the definition of GA, taking large, potentially huge search space. What does that mean? It means that these algorithms should be used only and only when you have a very big problem in hand. There are so many combinations. If you have a limited number of combinations, if it is a limited problem, it's a small size problem, then you need not use these algorithms like genetic algorithm. So it is able to find optimal solution, means near best solution. It gives us near best solution which we might not otherwise find in the lifetime. There are problems, when we increase the size of the problem, even our whole lifespan will be less to get the optimal solution. So these optimization algorithms, genetic algorithm was developed by J. Holland in 1975. It's a search heuristic that mimics the process of natural evolution. We have evolved over years and years through generations and generations. Similarly, the same evolution principle is being used in the genetic algorithm. It uses concepts of natural selection and genetic inheritance. So we have some inheritance from our mother as well as from father. So the same genetic inheritance is being considered into this algorithm. So first question arises, why, when, and how to implement GA. When to implement, why to implement. Why means in case you are certainly sure that my problem is quite big and it is not worth to go for the classical optimization techniques. I am to go to the meta heuristics or with the approximate solutions or with the nature inspired algorithms. Then only you should consider such algorithms. Now, when it can be implemented? Now, when it can be implemented means it has certain conditions, and those conditions we'll discuss. And then how to implement GA is basically technical knowledge, how the GA can be implemented. In this lecture, we'll see all these three. Those who are with me at this time can write yes in the chat box. Just let me see the active listeners. Just to check the active listeners, can I get yes in the chat box? Just simply get yes in the chat box. How many yes? Really nice to have you all. A very good number of yeses there in the chat box. It means people are actively listening to the lecture. And here I would request you, please be with me for another 1 or 1.5 hours approximately. So definitely you will learn something about GA, and in case you implement GA through some code available on the website or somewhere else, you'll be able to justify it through this presentation. Okay, I have implemented and I know the rationale, the basic, how it works. So friends, please be with me with enthusiasm, and I request you all, please ask questions liberally. Wherever you want to ask, you are most welcome. You may ask me, sir, is GA a global optimization techniques? Yes, every technique in nature inspired optimization algorithm, they are not the local search heuristics. In most of the cases, they are the global search only. So when GA can be implemented, so let us see the conditions. Fitness function to evaluate the quality of the different solution needed. So first condition is we need to have a fitness function. We were talking about multiple alternatives. If we have 1 lakh alternatives, I am to select the best alternative out of those 1 lakh alternatives. How I will be able to select, distinguish between those alternatives? Means I need to evaluate their fitness. So in case I have some alternatives, in case I have multiple solutions, then only I need to optimize. So those multiple solutions or alternatives, definitely we should have some methodology to grade the fitness. We should be able to evaluate numerically those alternatives. Then is the solution encoding. We will see this part, solution encoding, that how we can encode this basically a problem into a sample chromosome. So designing a chromosome we'll discuss at length. Deciding the controllable variables. So when we say controllable variables, that you can decide basically variables means the parameters which when changed will change the optimization problem, change the optimal value, change the fitness function. So in fitness function we write, say f is equal to say x plus y sine x something plus z cube. Say you have written this. So how many variables are there? So there are 3 variables. One is x, this is repetition of x, then is the y, and then is the z. So these 3 are known as the variables x, y and z in the objective function. So we need to optimize the value of x, optimize the value of y and z, so that we are able to get an optimal solution. So we should know that what are the controllable variables which can be changed as per our desire to optimize the problem. So the basic steps include coding or representation. This is the you can say the most difficult part, or coding or representation. You should difficult, or it's a technical part. You can code the same problem in multiple ways. That depends on you how efficiently you code it. And then is the fitness function. Once you have coded the problem, now you should be able to find out the fitness of that coding representation. And once you have fitness, then we'll be able to do the further operations over the coming generations. That is the evolution part through crossover and mutation. And then finally where to stop is the convergence. We'll see these concepts in the upcoming slides. So here I'll start with the very simple problem. So let's take this simple problem. Say we want to minimize this function that has 2 variables. One is x and another is y. So x square plus y cube. And we have certain constraints also. X ranges from 1 to 5 and y ranges from 5 to 15. So these are the bounds. Sometimes we say that the lower bound for x is 1 and upper bound for x is 5. Similarly for y, this lower bound is 5 and upper bound is 15. So every feasible solution should have some value of x and some value of y. When we say some value of x, what does that mean? X should always be between 1 to 5. And if we say y, and that should be between 5 to 15. So there is a probable solution randomly generated in which the value of x is 3.5 and y is 8.2. Whether this solution is feasible? Yes, we can say this solution is a feasible. This provides us a sample solution because both the variables lie in the range, they follow the constraints. So it means this is the feasible solution. Similarly, this 1.3 and 12.9 is a feasible solution. So these are the probable solutions, that is the feasible, that are feasible ones. In case I write here 6.7 and here I write 12, what does that mean? 6.7 goes beyond the range of the x specified. It means this solution is infeasible. Sometime as you start working along this algorithm, you have taken some code from the internet and you try to implement it. What happens is most of the populations keep getting infeasible, and as this keep getting infeasible, they won't give you a right solution and the efficiency will drastically reduce. So an individual solution is characterized by a set of parameters called gene. Individual solution means whenever we optimize, we need a solution. So we can have multiple solutions. So one individual solution is characterized by genes, and the genes are joined into a string called chromosome. So one chromosome means one solution, and one chromosome might have number of genes, and every genes will represent a parameter that can be controlled. The chromosome forms the genotype, and the genotype contains all the information to construct an organism, that is the phenotype. So genotype and phenotype will discuss in the upcoming slides. Here you see, let us see the now coding schema. Representation of an individual can be using discrete values, simply binary, integer, or we can use anything. And here I have taken an example in which I have taken a binary chromosome. Binary means either this gene value can be 0 or it can be 1. How many genes are there? How many genes are there? There are 8 genes in total. Out of these 8 genes, what we are able to make it a chromosome, this whole chromosome. So every gene may represent a controllable variable. So it depends on you how to use these gene values. So let us see. So this representation, discrete representation, in which we have 8 bits genotype. Here you can see it can be integer, it can be converted into real number, it could be a schedule, and many more. Anything can be created out of this. So let us see one by one a few examples. Phenotype could be integer numbers. Integer numbers, how? You can see here, whenever a random combination of these ones and zeros on these 8 places means 8 genes are flipped, and every time you will get either 1 or 0. So each genotype will be ultimately converted into a phenotype. So here this is the phenotype. This is the genotype in which there are certain genes, and those genes are representing what value here? They are representing 163. So here binary is converted into decimal value, the digital value. So this is the phenotype which represents 163. What is the maximum possible number that can be accommodated through this genotype? So how many possible, what is the maximum, what is the range of this genotype into phenotype? Okay, genotype could be either all ones or it could be all zeros. This is the extreme values. These are the 2 extreme values, but these 2 extreme values will ultimately turn into some solutions. This 0 will turn into a solution, that is 0, and all ones will turn into 2 raised to power 8, that is equal to 256. So the thing is, every genotype has been converted into a phenotype. The simplest is the integer conversion. Now let us see another possible way of converting it. Phenotype could be a real number also. Now the same genotype in which there were ones and zeros has to be mapped between 2.5 to 20.5. What we want is these 8 binary digits should represent a value of 2.5 to 20.5. How we can map it? You simply see it. Just what we have written is 2.5, that is the lower limit, plus its value, integer value. Integer value is how much? 163 we have seen, divided by maximum possible value, that is the 256. So its numerator, that is 163 in present, would vary from 0 to 256. When it becomes 0, its value will be 2.5. This whole component cancels out. And when its value will become 256, how much it will be then? It will become 20.5. So depending on this scheme, we can convert this genotype into a range bound variable, that is 2.5 to 20.5 you have seen. So this phenotype could be a real numbered phenotype out of this binary genotype. Another way out, let us see. Say we have these 8 jobs. We are mechanical people, we can best understand this example. So this is job 1, job 2, and this is job 8. So we want to club these 8 jobs into 2 groups. So how to club it? All the ones are to be clubbed and all the zeros are to be clubbed. So the thing is, we want to machine these 8 jobs in 2 various groups. One group is having ones and another is zeros. So there could be multiple type of groups. As this 1 and 0 changes, this group will change. So this is the time slot 1. So this is to be produced in time slot 1, and rest are to be produced in time slot 2, and rest are to be produced in time slot 1. So we can convert such chromosomes into our desired schedules also, and that schedule can finally give us some fitness value, that is the based on some computations. Okay, if we process these jobs in this order, so what ultimate fitness we will be achieving, and that fitness will be assigned to this genotype. So here we have seen coding space and solution space. There are 2 things. Coding space relates to what? It relates to genotype, and solution space is related to phenotype. So one basic feature of genetic algorithm is that it works on coding space and solution space alternatively, because each time you need to go into some coding space, you will bring in new chromosome, and that chromosome again will be evaluated in the solution space and will be getting the new solution. So alternatively it goes into coding and solution space. So natural selection is the link between the chromosome and the performance of their decoded solution. Once you have solution space, it will assign some fitness value. So the link between these two is the natural selection. Selection is based on the fitness value only. So fitness value is being assigned in the solution space. Due to that, we'll be selecting the fitter chromosome for the further selection. One more example let us take for the combinatorial representation. Say this is the an ordered list of cities. So there are 8 cities, and we want to visit all these cities, and with the minimum possible cost or minimum time. So we have a distance distance list available, London to every city. So we'll be having these list of distances with us. Based on that, we can assign fitness to this chromosome, because in this chromosome we go from 3 to 5, 5 to 7, 7 to 2, 2 to 1, 6, 8. We have visited all the cities in an order, and if we visit in these cities, we can find out some solution value, that is the fitness value, because 3 to 5 distance we know, 5 to 7 distance we know, 7 to 2 distance we know. So here will be the total distance, and this is the another solution, that is the second solution, random solution, which will again give us some fitness value. So based on that fitness value, we'll be going for natural selection. So you can see here, this is the coding space and this is the solution space. We keep on flipping, we decode and make a solution, we evaluate. Based on that evaluate, we again go for various processes, that is the natural selection, and then various operations, crossover, mutation, and then again that is evolved, and that is again being valued for the fitness, evaluated for fitness. So the population which we have considered so far was the binary. It could have anything. It could have real numbers, it could have permutations, it could have list of rules, it could have program elements. So anything it could have. So population, you can think of your own, and based on that you can solve the problem. So genetic algorithm basic components are initialization procedure. In the initialization procedure, you see here that the population is created here. In the population, you can see there are children, there are middle-aged, there are basically aged people also. Everyone should be there in the population. So everyone or every type of solution should be there in the population. So diversity in the solutions is the key to success. Whenever we want to create a population, that population should be created a diverse population. Say we were having range 1 to 5 and 6 to 15. Say these were the two range of X and Y. Now you see here, when we will creating population, that population will be randomly generating values between 1 to 5 and randomly 6 to 15. In case we generate 100 solutions, random solutions, those 100 solutions should be ultimately very fairly or uniformly distributed between these ranges, and every part of the solution space should be covered. So diversity is the most important thing. So selection based on the function fitness, let us see. So evaluate the goodness of the chromosome. I was telling you that we should have a fitness function to evaluate the chromosomes. What was the chromosome? Chromosome was a representation of a solution, and every chromosome represents one solution, and that solution has some fitness value. In population, if my population size is say 20, then how many chromosomes do we have? 20 only. Okay, in one chromosome, say we have 4 genes. What does that mean? There are 4 controllable variables. There are 4 controllable variables. And now once we have this methodology, we can find out the fitness function. So critical to the success of GA, fitness function is the most important thing. You are quite aware, in case our fitness function is not correct, we will never be able to find out the best solution, or we may not travel in the right direction. So often difficult to define well, must be fairly fast, as each chromosome must be evaluated in each generation. So fitness function should not take much time, because in every population or every generation will be evaluating again and again all the chromosomes. So it should be fast enough. Now comes the selection. Once we have made a population has been given some fitness value. Based on that fitness value, which chromosomes should go in the next generation, that is the selection process. So purpose to focus the search in the promising region of the search space, and inspiration is Darwin has given us the rule, that is the survival of the fittest. So trade-off between exploration and exploitation comes here, because selection, if we keep on selecting the best alternatives only, then it means we are exploiting. In case we don't put the much selection pressure, it means we are exploring more. So we'll discuss this exploitation and exploration at length in the upcoming slides. So how do we get the initial set of solutions? So one person has asked, how do we get the initial solutions? Let me tell you, in case I was having some problem where there was a X value and Y value. So X value was ranging from 1 to 5 and it was say 6 to 15. Now I want to make a population of size 3, 1, 2, 3. So what I want to do is, population size is 3. Now you can see here I will be having some value of X and some value of Y. Now based on your random numbers, we have a random number generator, RAND. You can use different languages, have different random number generators. You generate a random number and that will be generated between 0 to 1, and that has to be mapped between 1 to 5. So each time you put this function RAND, you will be able to generate a number between 0 to 1. So that 0 to 1 should represent 1 to 5. Is it possible? It's quite easy because lower bound is 1 plus here you can see say generated number is 0.2 and maximum limit we have is 1 multiplied by 5 minus 1. So in case you use this formula, you will be simply able to convert that number 1 into the desired number x and y here. So you can put for loop for this. So you'll be able to generate the initial population. I hope everyone is clear about how to generate the initial population. So let us see the exploration and exploitation now in this curve. So here are some solutions. You can see these dots represent solution. In case we have reached here, what we do is exploitation means we will make smaller and smaller changes till we reach on the top. In case we reached on the top and further we do some smaller change and it starts again descending, it means in case we want to reach on the top of the hill and we reached here, so we say that I have got the solution, and every solution will try to cluster on this peak. In case this is a problem of maximization, we have clustered here on this maxima, but this is local maxima. What is this? This is the local maxima, and we want to reach here global maxima. So in case we do exploitation, that is the very, very small changes. Neighborhood search methods are very good for this. Local search or neighborhood search methods are good for this exploitation. And due to exploitation, we may trap into the local maxima or minima, whatsoever we desire. But what we want is we want global optima. So in case we have reached here, simply we will be randomly moving, flipping on this place in the next generation. In the next generation, I may reach here. In the next generation, I may go here. I may go here. Single chromosome being changed on each and every generation. So this chromosome might have changed to this, might have changed to this, might have changed to this, and then again to this. So this is exploration. It is exploring more and more. The whole search space is being explored widely, so that we don't leave any such space where we can find the global optima, so that we may not get trapped into the local optima. So there are two things: exploration, and then is the exploitation. So exploration and exploitation, when I say explore, means in case we explore more, what will happen? It will become a purely random search algorithm. Each time you will be randomly moving here and there, you won't be able to optimize if you explore more. In case we exploit more, what will happen? We may get trapped into the local optima. So these two have their own pros and cons, but we need both the things. We need exploration as well as we need exploitation. Every optimization algorithm, it could be GA, it could be any of the nature inspired algorithm, will be having some mechanism to find out the solutions through exploration and exploitation. And these exploration and exploitation can be controlled. There are some controlling parameters for those also. Controlling parameter in each algorithm are different, because each algorithm is having different way of working. So you can control these two, exploration and exploitation, in various algorithms. In GA, we will see how to control these exploration and exploitation. Now let me take the some fitness mechanism. Darwinian fitness proportionate selection. Fitness proportionate selection we are discussing here. So here you see, in case I have this gene 011, this is one chromosome, it has fitness of 3. You can see here, convert into the integer number, it will become 3. So here it has fitness value of 1, it has fitness value of 6, here it has fitness value of 2. So as we go along, the fitness value changes here. So these 4 solutions or 4 chromosomes have different fitness values. What is the total fitness value of all the chromosomes? 6 plus 2, 8, 9 and 3, 12. So 12 is the total fitness value. So in case we want to see what is the proportion of the chromosome 1 in the total fitness 12, that will be 3 divided by 12, that is equal to 0.25. Contribution of the second chromosome in the total fitness is 0.08, 0.5, 0.17. Now this is the percentage contribution in the total fitness, that is the 12. All the 4 chromosomes now have contributed some percentage in the total fitness that we calculated. Now we have total population size of 4. 4 multiplied by highest is the 0.5. Take the highest number. 4 multiplied by 0.5. What will it will turn into 2. So how many copies of this chromosome are to be taken in the next population? In next population we will be taking 2 copies of this. So you can see here, these are the 2 copies, that is the solution 2 has changed. So 2 copies we have generated now. Now next is the, let us see, next value after 0.5 is 0.25 sorry. 0.25 means how many copies of this solution? Total population size is 4 multiplied by 50% contribution, that is the of this chromosome, that is 0.25. So that will turn into 1. So let us make 1 copy of this. We have made 1 copy of this. 2 copies we have already made, and the rest is either we should select this or this. Naturally 0.17 will make 1 copy of this. So this is the proportionate selection. In case there are 100 chromosomes and we have some total value here, based on the total fitness we can proportionately select these chromosomes for the next generation, known as mating pool. Now this is the mating pool being generated through these chromosomes, earlier solutions. So one generation, this was the generation 1. We want to create generation 2. For creating generation 2, what we'll be having, we'll move through this. First we'll make mating pool, and after mating pool we'll be generating the next generation. We'll see apply other operations also. So I hope this fitness proportionate selection is clear to everybody. Anybody having any doubt in this proportionate selection, please ask. I hope it is clear. So let me move ahead. Next is the roulette wheel selection. In the roulette wheel selection, you saw there were different values. So each solution, say there are 5 solutions. Solution number 1 is having 31% contribution in the total fitness value. Solution 2 is having how much contribution? 5%. Solution 3 is having 38% contribution, and similarly every solution is being graded in the total contribution of its fitness. So we may make a roulette wheel. Simply you start from 0. Here you start 0. Say it has 31%. How much it will be made? This will be made 0.31. How it will be made? Say it has 5%. So 5% means 0.05. 0.31 plus 0.05 will reach at this value, plus 0.38 will reach at this, and simultaneously will similarly will be making this roulette wheel. Once this roulette wheel is generated, what we do is each time we generate a number between 0 to 1 randomly, and when we generate a random number, say it comes 0.2 random number generated. So what will be selecting for the next mating pool? It would be which solution? It would be solution number 1. So similarly, in case we go ahead and we have a value 0.5, which solution will be selected? Solution number 3. So that will lead to solution number 3. So the thing is, each time you keep generating random number, and that will be selecting a solution from this. The solution number 3 is having highest probability for getting selected because it covers 38% of the range between 0 to 1. So it has highest probability. The next highest probability is solution number 1. So automatically, based on the probability, the more copies of the fitter candidates will be generated, and the lesser copies of the non-fit candidates will be generated in the mating pool. So I hope everyone is clear about how to generate a mating pool. Now comes after mating pool, there is one more method, that is the tournament selection. In the tournament selection, what we do is we randomly select a few individuals. Say I have 10 population size is equal to 10. I generate randomly two numbers, that could be 2 and 5. What I'll be doing, I'll making a tournament between these two, let them fight with each other. Who will win? The person who is having highest fitness will win. Once if the 5 is having highest fitness, more fitness than the 2, then 5 will be taken to the mating pool. Similarly, each time I'll be choosing two random solutions from this population and let them fight, and based on their fight, which is based on the fitness function, I'll carry forward one solution to the mating pool. So tournament could be between 2, could be between 3, could be between 4. The more people fight with each other, higher would be the selection pressure, because that will lead to taking the more fitter candidates into the next mating pool if we increase the tournament size. I hope that's clear. Now comes a concept of elitism. Elitism means a practical variant of general purpose of constructing a new population is to allow the best organisms from the current generation to carry over to the next unaltered. Means what we want is, in case we have 10 solutions in hand, population size 10, solution 1, 2, 3, say I take 3 population size and 3 solutions. There is some chromosome here, some chromosome here, some chromosome here, and it has a solution value of 0.75, 0.05, 0.6. So these are the fitness value, and this is the maximization problem. So the best one is the solution which is the fittest one. So this should not go through the evolution process. It should directly jump to the next population. It should be selected as it is in the next population without any further operations. So this is known as elitism. We can select one elite, or we can select top 2, top 3, depending on the selection, depending on the elite process which you are following. Now comes the crossover and mutation. You should bear in mind this crossover and mutation are the evolution operators, and these operators should not be operated on elite candidates, because elite will directly pass through the next generation the best solutions, and we will apply this crossover and mutation to the mating pool. And mating pool, you know how we selected through the population based on the fitness. There were 3 methods discussed. One was proportionate selection, another was roulette wheel selection, and the third one was tournament selection. Based on that, we selected a mating pool. Now we have in hand mating pool, and that mating pool should be crossovered and mutated so that we are able to get the next generation, and the next generation could be better. So we'll see how this mutation and crossover occurs. Generating offspring through crossover. So here I'll straightway come to the crossover. Say this is the parent 1 and this is the parent 2. These two parents are aligned here. You can see here, these are the, what are these? These are the genes. These are the genes. This is also gene, this is also gene. So a chromosome has genes, and each gene represents a controlling parameter. So once we have 2 parents from the mating pool, those 2 parents are to be crossover. To crossover, we need a crossover site. What is this? This is the crossover point, or known as crossover site. So that crossover site could be from this point onwards up to this point. So randomly has to be selected. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here the crossover point is 4. So a randomly selected number has to be generated to find out where to crossover. So we selected that crossover point as 4, and that is selected randomly. Once we have selected this crossover site, on this crossover, what will happen? This part of the chromosome of the second parent will be joining with this part of the chromosome. So you can see here, up to this point, this is the parent 2 and this is the parent 1, which I have shown. Similarly, these two parts can be seen here. That is the basically crossover. In 2-point crossover, what you can see here is, this is the crossover. So this is the crossover, 2-point crossover. It could be 3-point crossover as well, but maximum in most of the cases, a single point or 2-point crossover serves the purpose. Then comes the uniform crossover. Uniform crossover means on each side you are crossover, this with this and then this. This is known as the uniform crossover. So I hope crossover is clear to everyone. There is no problem in crossover. I move ahead. Crossover with these kind of solutions, in case this is a traveling cities in an order, in case we cross over, what will happen? This will be joined with this, but what will happen? You can see here 3 is visited twice in the next generation. So this would not serve the purpose in the permutation type of chromosomes. So in such chromosomes, there are certain methodologies which due to lack of time I may not cover. This is okay. Let us see hurriedly. So here you can see this 2 is at what place in the parent 2. In parent 2, this is 2 is at first place. This 1 is at how much place? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is at 6th place. This 6 is at what place? 4th place. Similarly, this 6 in parent 2, its place in the first parent, 6th place. So we have taken at 6th place. Shilpi, can you please tell your concern? In the previous slide, you are telling choose second child. In that case, should we? Shilpi, I understand both are to be selected. This will be selected. This will be selected. These are the 2 children produced by 2 parents. Both will be taken forward. Not even, not the single. I hope that's clear. 2 parents made 2 offsprings, and both offsprings are to be taken further in the next generation for computation of fitness. I hope that's clear, Shilpi. Okay, that's fine. Now let us see. I was telling about that. Okay, we got these numbers. How we have got these numbers? That's clear. So clearing this, when we cross over, this 6, this 357 has to go with this part, but we cannot do that. You understand that this 3, or there could be multiple visits to the single city. To avoid that, what we'll do is we try to order this, because here the 2 is on the first place. According to the second parent, we will try to order these cities. These cities we will try to order according to the second parent. In the second parent, it was on the first place. Okay, 2 is on the first place, and then the next should be at the number 4, that is the 6, and then should be it is on number 5, that is the 8, and then after 5 it should be on the number 6, that is the 1, and then on the number 8, that is the 8th place. So 1, 4, 5, 6, 8, they are ordered in a fashion in which these digits appear in the second child. I hope that's second parent, sorry. I hope that's clear. Then comes the next part, that is the mutation. So its purpose is to simulate the effect of errors that happen with low probability during evolution, and the results are movement in the search space, restoration of lost information to the population. Let us see how. We are trying to understand mutation now, the next recombination operator in the genetic algorithm. Crossover is clear to everybody, and now we are discussing the mutation. Say there is a value of these genes are x1, x2, xi means x3 and so on, and lower bound is 0 and upper bound is 1. So randomly created parents, these are the random genes created. Now as we are trying to mutate this chromosome, we are trying to apply mutation on this chromosome, and say mutation rate we are keeping as 0.05 or 0.1, that means 10%. 10% mutation rate means every time we go here, we will try to generate a random number between 0 to 1. If it comes between 0 to 0.1, we will do the mutation. If it comes between 0.1 to 1, then we will not be doing the mutation. We will not be doing the mutation. So this time you can understand that the number generated could be 0.2, it could be 0.5. We have not done mutation, but in this case the number generated is 0.07, say. That is the less than 0.1, the desired mutation rate. So we are to mutate on this side. So for mutation, what we have done, we have one gene value as 0.19. That gene value has to be mutated to the new value. Again, we should follow the lower bound and upper bound, and a feasible value of that genes has to be created. Instead of converting the whole chromosome, just we are working on the gene level. Some gene is being changed depending on the very low probability. So similarly, this is 0.25 has been changed, and new random number is generated between 0 to 1, and that is 0.69 and placed here. So these two times you can see the mutation has matured. In the other places, there is no mutation has taken place. I hope mutation is clear to everybody. So here when we do mutation, so this is some schedule, so let's skip it over. In the permutation kind of arrangements, you can see here they are mutation are taken place at two sites simultaneously. 7 is shuffled to 6 and 6 to 7. They are basically altered. So swapping of two positions will lead to a mutation. Single mutation cannot occur. You cannot change this 7 because rest of digits, if you see, there has to be 7 only. So to do a mutation in such cases, you will have to select two sites and they are to be swapped. So that will lead to one mutation. Then comes iterations. Iteration means you had a population. Based on that you started, and that population was randomly generated. After population, what we did? Tell me. After generation of population, what you did? Anybody? Then we had to assign fitness to this population. Once we have given the fitness to the population, after giving fitness, what we do is selection. For selection, which strategies do we have? Proportionate selection, and then roulette wheel selection, and then tournament selection. You have to use one of these three selection parameters. Once we have done this selection, very good. I am getting answers on the chat box, so it's really nice getting answers from the participants. Are very interactive. I'm thankful to you all for being patient listeners and taking interest in the session. So very good response from the participants. So once selection is being done, After selection, what to do is, now after being fitness and selection, what we do is we take elites as it is. Maybe one elite or two elites are taken forward as it is. Once we have taken elites further, then the selected candidate is basically mating pool, and that mating pool has to be again gone through a process of evolution which involves two processes, that is the crossover and then mutation. Based on that crossover and mutation, what we do is we are able to generate new population. In this population, these crossover and mutation candidates along with the elites, these elites, so they make the new population. Once we have made the new population, the same population can be placed at this place, and you forgot about the previous run which we have done. Again you go for fitness, selection, elite, crossover, mutation, and you keep moving like this again and again. So every one such circle is known as iteration cycle. Every such cycle is known as iteration. So number of iterations are being carried out. So those iterations are sometimes known as generations also. How many generations are to be kept? So the GA is run till the stopping criteria is met. The best solution in the last population is the final approximate. Shvetambri, I'll take this question later. So the GA is run till the stopping criteria is met. The best solution is in the last population is the final approximate solution. When we say final approximate, it means we are not sure that we have got the best answer, but near best solution we might be able to get through this. So GAs are highly parameter dependent, such as size of population, what population size is to be kept, what is the stopping criteria, how many generations are to be kept, what kind of crossover to be used, what should be the probability of mutation and crossover, what should be the probability of mutation. So everything is certainly contributing to the efficiency of the algorithm, and there is no thumb rule. Okay, you take these many population, you take these many generations. That's not possible. So this is a trial and error process. Whenever you have some problem in hand, that problem has to be tried again and again with varying controlling parameters. So based on your problem size, you may get, okay, on this level I'm getting the best solution with the minimum efforts. So that would be the best possible your controlling parameters value. In mathematics, Shvetambri, you are saying that how it can be used, please elaborate. In mathematics, we have taken simple functions. So mathematics is all about various type Rosenberg function. There are so many functions, you are already aware, and there are many publications which use the standard functions without constraints and with constraints. And through those functions, they try to implement these algorithms, maybe GA, PSO, Cuckoo search, Mogo. There are so many algorithms, and they try to compare those basically different algorithms. Okay, which algorithm takes minimum time to give us the best solution, and which algorithm is best for a particular problem. So the thing is, in mathematics, lots of people are working in this field. This is very lucrative field for the mathematics, because this can be integrated with the practical problems as well. So in case you are from mathematics and some person from mechanical or industrial is inclined towards working with you, that would be the best combination to have it. So you might be good at coding, and other person might be good at the technical knowledge of the field. So where we get algorithms. These algorithms, you simply search nature inspired algorithms, or you search the basically evolution based algorithms, you will get number of algorithms. And beauty is, nowadays you may get code already there on the websites. Various websites are there on which you get codes, and those codes are downloadable, and you can directly convert those to your advantage. But the thing is, you should know the basics of the algorithm. Then only you will be able to write the paper, you will be able to justify your algorithm. So every algorithm should be learned in depth before using the code. Otherwise, you won't be able to write paper or to use. You won't be able to use that algorithm. Can you mention few websites for algorithm? Please tell some sites. Actually, at the end, I'll take your feedback I'll try to send you the books which are having some algorithms already. There are already some MATLAB based algorithms on genetic algorithm and being implemented in various domains. So I'll send those ebooks to you on your email IDs. So let's move ahead after iteration. So these are basically in GA you can see one is the initialization, that is the initial population is being generated. Then is the parent selection, we are applying the selection operator. After selection operator, what we are doing is elite. We have not written here elite, so elites are to be taken forward, and then is the crossover being done, and then is the mutation or the replacement, and then is the fitness and test, and again it will lead to the first position, that is the initialization. Initially you initialized, but in the later stages, in every evolution or every iteration, you will get one population at the end which has some fitness value, and that fitness value keeps on improving and improving with each iteration. Now comes the question of feasibility, legality, and uniqueness. Feasibility, legality, and uniqueness, these are the three very important parameters for any algorithm. So feasibility is it is following all the constraints, and legality is whether the solution is from this diagram I'll try to come. So this is the coding space and this is the solution space. We saw that we coded something into the form of the chromosome, and that chromosome was decoded into some real organism, that is phenotype. So you can see here we have made this, but the solution is infeasible. Why? It is not giving us the values of x, y between the desired values, or it is not following the constraints. That means it is infeasible. And what is the illegal? Say I want to visit 4 cities, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 to 4 cities I am to visit. 4, 3, 2, 4 again. I am missing 1, and again I am leading to 4, and I am not covering all the cities. So this is an illegal solution. Sometimes due to crossover or mutation, I may turn into illegal solutions, but infeasible solution are that I am not following some constraint. And what I do is I need to have some feasible solution at end. And there are some problems which lead to one-to-one mapping, n-to-1 and one-to-one mapping. Means I have made a chromosome. That same chromosome can lead to multiple solutions. Sometimes it happens. So due to vagueness in the decoding, I can convert the same chromosome into multiple solutions. This is the most dangerous one. So we don't want one-to-n mapping in any case. But in case n-to-1, that we can tolerate, but that is also leading to less efficient. So here we have multiple coding schemes, multiple chromosomes. All the chromosome, rather they are different in the coding space, but when you convert them, they will be leading to the same solution. So this is known as n-to-1 mapping. This is not that harmful, but it will impact your efficiency. This won't give you any solution. And here the best one is one-to-one mapping. Each chromosome should give us one solution only. So GA parameters, you are already aware that we need population size, selection strategy, then is the ellipticism, crossover method, and then is the deciding its probability, mutation probability, and what kind of mutation you are using, and then is the stopping criteria. Most of the time, simplest stopping criteria is okay. Simplest stopping criteria is I say okay, we'll go for 50 generations with population size of 100. It means initially we will make 100 parents, 100 size population, then we'll do fitness and do everything for one cycle. And how many cycles do we go for? 50 cycles. That is the 50 iteration or 50 generations. So this is the stopping criteria. It has all the probabilistic steps, and crossover is basically exploration and mutation is basically exploitation. So the thing is, in case we do mutation at a very rigorous, we increase the percentage of mutation, that will lead to a random algorithm that will increase its exploration. As you decrease mutation, it may lead to the exploitation, but crossover is ultimately leading to the exploration. So there are two parameters, crossover and mutation, which lead to exploration and exploitation. Even in the selection strategies, if we take tournament size of higher candidates in a one go, that will lead to exploitation. And if we take the tournament of two people only, that will be exploring much. So everywhere in the algorithm, you can have your control on the exploration and exploitation part. For exploration, exploitation is already cleared. So there are some conventional strength of genetic algorithm is in the conventional approaches often requires knowledge of derivatives or other specific mathematical techniques, to which we mechanical people might feel that we are not strong in those. But in evolutionary algorithm, we don't need any mathematical base. They are probabilistic, and just you can use those algorithms to any of the problems. Problem type does not matter for them. Concept is easy to understand and then supports multi-objective optimization, good for noisy environment, always an answer gets better with time, inherently parallel, easily distributed. So these are the advantages. These are some of the implementations you can see here. This is a line, stage 1, stage 2, on which we need a machine here to be selected. But there are certain machines which are good for the operation number 7. So there are the discrete set of machines. You can see machine number 1 in its third configuration is good for operation number 7. Machine number 2 for with this fourth configuration can operate on operation number 7. So there are 4 possible machines that can be allotted here. So similarly, on different operations, there is a set of machines. Now I am to implement GA. For implementing GA on such problems, what I need to do is I need to give them numbering 1, 2, 3, 4. They are the number. Okay, I'll assign those numbers here. Say I assign here number 3. It means it will give us machine number 4 with the second configuration on this operation. So these kind of chromosomes can be developed. So that same chromosome here, say we have this real chromosome. That real chromosome. That real chromosome will convert into, just wait for a while. So say this is the number 0.6733. In this case, 0.6733, how many maximum number of possible combinations are 4 multiplied with 4 and make it a ceiling operation. You will lead to a number here. That number gives us the 3. 3 means this machine combination is being allotted. I don't have much time to explain it. So in that way, in mechanical engineering, anything can be controlled with these kind of optimization algorithms. So here you can see this is the multiple part. Here 3, 1, 2. This is a combination of basically permutation. So this permutation represents in 3 machines. In what order do you want to take these? And this is 5 to 9 means this is the operation. This is the machine third on which the 5th part has to be machined. Machine third, and we are to machine the part number 5 on this. And similarly after 3, this is 1. So on 1 you are to machine the part number 2 first, that is the part number 2. And similarly on the last order, that is the 2, on 2 you are to change the 9. So in case I change this, automatically this 5 to 9 will mean something else. So 5 to 9, in case it is 2, 1, 3, it means this 5 is associated with the machine 2. So the thing is, like this, you can generate your own possible combinations. This is how the part family is being selected, and then is the reconfigure flow line selection. These are some research works. So here is the basically ensemblement of these sequences. So there are certain sequences, say 2, 4, 1, 3, 5, in what order they need to be assembled. So that has to be decided. So that is very simply decided in this chromosome design. That is the selection of merging of sequences. So let me go to very this card. So let me bring you back to the illustration part. So let's do this max1 problem, a very simple problem in which we want to maximize the number of ones. You see here, this is the chromosome, say 10 bits. In this 10 bits, either we will be having 0 or 1s, this is a binary chromosome. So we are to maximize 1 means how many ones we can have at max. So that are to be optimized. Let us see how. So we'll implement GA on this problem. So we are generating first the population size of 6. We start with a population of n random strings. N random strings means each string is a chromosome. So population size is 6. S1 represents first chromosome, second chromosome, third chromosome. Each chromosome gives us a solution to the problem. Now you see, so let's evaluate the fitness. For the solution 1, you are aware that here we are getting how many ones? 7 ones. In this case, we have got 5 ones. How these are generated, you will ask again. So again, you generate a random number between 0 to 1. If it is 0 to 0.5, it means 0. And if it goes above 0.5, greater than 0.5, then it will be 1. So each time you generate a random number, you will be able to decide whether I am to place 1 or 0. Similarly, you can generate this size of 10. So 10 random numbers are to be generated for one solution to be built, and each time you decide whether 1 is to be kept or 0 is to be kept. Similarly, after, so how many times this random number has to be generated in this? 60 times. Or you can say a fair coin is being flipped, and head tails you can do. And in the computer programming language, we generate random numbers. So this is the solution 2, in which there are 5 ones. Then again, there are number of ones. You can see in various solutions. What is the best solution here? S5 is the best one, which has how many solutions? 8 solutions. And you can understand what is the total fitness value of this. Total fitness value is 34 now. Select the fitter individuals for reproduction. You are aware that roulette wheel has already been told to you. Based on that roulette wheel selection, what we done is we have selected some solutions. That is the S1, then S3, S5, S2, S4, S5. So they are being the mating pool generated through that initial population by selection operator. That is the roulette wheel selection we have used in this case. Based on that roulette wheel, we are able to select. You can see here 1 is missing, S6 is missing, means solution 6 is totally discarded because that was having lower fitness and that could not make it for the next generation or in the mating pool. Now we want to recombine through crossover and mutation. In crossover, you see 1, 2 we are crossover. Solution 1 and solution 2 are being crossovered here, and this is the crossover site. Through this crossover site, you can see here they are being crossovered. Here this part is being joined with this part, and similarly the other one. And this is S5, 6 is again crossovered. Here the crossover site is this one. This crossover site, I told you, this has to be randomly selected. And after random selection, you need to crossover, and after crossover, this part is being joined with this part. You can see here. And similarly, you can see here 3 and 4 is not being crossovered. Why? 1, 2 is being crossovered, and 5, 6 is being crossovered, but 2, 3 is not crossovered because crossover probability we have kept, say 0.8%, 0.8, that is the 80%. 80% crossover means we will always generate a number between 0 to 1. If it lies between 0 to 0.8, we will do crossover. If it is above 0.8, then we will not do crossover. So here in these two cases, when we were we have selected two parents, we generated a number between 0 to 1. It lies, if it is less than 0.8, we have to do crossover. When we selected 3 and 4, S3 and S4, we generated S3 dash and S3 4. We generated a random number that could be 0.9. It means we need not to do crossover for S3 or S4 because that does not lie in the probability. So this is the role of crossover probability. I have explained you that S3, S4 is not being crossovered. So once they are not being crossovered, so they are put in as it is. After crossover, now we are doing mutation. So here mutation, you can see for each site, what we are doing, we are generating a random number between 0 to 1. Say I have kept 5% mutation rate. Mutation rate should not be more than 10%, that is 0.1 maximum value. So this is 0.05. So 0 to 0.05 means, okay, do mutation. If it is above, greater than 0.05, then means do not mutate. So here it was less than 0.05, I can say. So we have mutated this site 1 with 0. Similarly, these two sites are mutated. You can see this 0 has become 1 and this 1 has become 0. So these are the mutation sites, red ones. So here after mutation, I have got this population. So now this is the next population. In this next population, they are being evaluated again, and we are able to see that earlier it was 34. Now we are able to get the higher value, that is the 37. That is the fitness of the new population. Now you can start again taking this population as the fresh one and doing all the operations. So we have led to a 9% improvement in one iteration only, and as we go along, the same process over and again till the stopping criteria is met, we'll be able to generate the new solutions. So earlier the solutions could be very randomly generated, but as you keep doing mutation and crossovers and you keep moving through populations, you will see that the solutions will be clustered near the global optimum value. So thank you all. Thank you very much. Thanks for patient hearing and being participative in this lecture. So this is my feedback link. You can, in case you have attended this session with interest, so please give your feedback, those who attended this session. So this is the link. You can directly type this link tinyurl.com /kkg feedback, or you can scan this captcha also. I'll try to send ebooks I have and the desired material to the participants. So any queries, you are most welcome.
Sir, good morning, sir. This is Avinash.
Yes, sir.
Sir, you said that for a mutation, you need to have minimum 2 sites for the mutation to take place. So,
in case of basically permutation type, in case
yes,
it's a permutation, then you will need 2 sites.
Sir, here in the previous example, in the last example, even with the single number, with the probability, we have also mutated, sir.
Actually, you try to understand that this was a binary chromosome. In binary, it could be 0 or 1 on any side. That would not hamper its feasibility. But in case it's a permutation of cities, say we are to visit each and every city, and any city cannot be repeated again and again. So you select one site. If you try to change it, you cannot change, because that city, one city, if you change, that will become infeasible. The chromosomes will become infeasible. In that case, you will need 2 sites simultaneously, so that you flip those 2 cities on their places and you are good to go for mutation. But in such binary type, you may go for single site also.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes. Any more queries from the participants?
Sir, one person, Subha R, has asked, how can we optimize the GA parameters?
There is no hard and fast rule for optimizing the parameters. The thing is, it is a trial and error process. even the reviewer cannot ask you how you got these settings. You can simply say this is through trial and error, because initially what you'll do, depending on the number of variables you have in your particular problem, based on those controlling variables, you will select population size. Population size, once you select, then you will be able to change the generations. So there are two things, one is population and other is generation. Population multiplied by iteration or the generation will give you the total number of function evaluations. And one criteria of these algorithms is how many function evaluations did you do to reach to the optimal solution. So the thing is, the algorithm which reaches to its optimal value through the least number of function evaluation is considered to be the best algorithm. So you keep on changing these values again and again. You try to change the population size, keep increasing till you get the optimal solution. So this is the trial and error. There is no hard and fast rule for this.